Okay, so get this.
Uh-huh.
You sent in a whole bunch of stuff about the Antanténusz rhyme.
Oh, wow.
You know, that counting out game?
Right.
And, well, it turns out
Yeah.
there might be way more to it than,
Oh, really?
than we think.
Okay.
Like, there could be, like,
Yeah.
secret messages from, like, ancient times
Wow.
hidden in this kid's rhyme.
Hidden messages, huh?
I know, right? So, is it really just gibberish?
Uh-huh.
Or is there something deeper going on?
Okay, I'm hooked.
The sources you guys sent,
Yeah.
they point to some pretty wild stuff.
Okay, like what kind of stuff?
Like, we're talking Sumerian origins,
Sumerian.
Latin roots. I mean,
No kidding.
the whole shebang.
That's fascinating.
It really is.
You know, what I find fascinating is just how many different theories
Right.
there are about this rhyme.
Yeah.
It really shows you, like, how much we want to find meaning
Yeah.
in things that seem, well,
Totally nonsensical.
yeah, exactly. Like,
Okay.
they just sound like, sounds,
I know.
but people are searching for meaning.
They are.
Deep down.
I mean, okay, so you remember the rhyme, right?
Oh, okay.
Antanténusz, Zorakatenus,
Sorakatikita.
Zorakatikitaka, Alabalabambas.
Yeah,
It's like, it's a total earworm.
it is.
And that catchy rhythm,
Yeah.
it just got me thinking,
Uh-huh.
like, what if there is something more to it?
It makes you wonder.
It really does.
It really does, and I think you're right. I mean, rhymes like that, with those playful sounds and the repetition,
Right.
you find them all over the world.
Everywhere.
And they often pop up in kids' games,
Exactly.
rituals, all kinds of things like that. And it makes you wonder, right?
It does.
If there's some, like, deeper psychological reason for that.
Oh, totally.
Or developmental reason.
Oh, for sure.
Why are these things so universal?
Right, right.
Um,
So maybe that's why everyone, like, jumps on the idea of this.
yeah.
This hidden meaning behind Antanténusz,
Uh-huh.
it feels like
Like there should be one.
there should be one.
Yeah.
Especially when you see those online claims about it being
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
like a 5,000-year-old Sumerian sun prayer
Right?
with like translations and everything.
Yeah.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
It does, and that's where we got to be careful.
Right.
As captivating as that sounds,
Right.
the evidence just doesn't back it up.
Right.
You know, these claims mainly live on social media,
Yeah.
like random Facebook posts, you know?
Right. And there's no real scholarly support for it.
Exactly. And this is a classic example of why we got to think critically
Yes.
and evaluate your sources, especially online.
Especially online.
That's where all the misinformation is.
All the craziness.
It's crazy out there.
I mean, if it really were that old and that important,
Right.
wouldn't there be some mention of it
Oh, yeah.
in actual Sumerian texts?
Absolutely.
Right.
A rhyme with that kind of historical and cultural significance.
Yep.
It would have left a much bigger mark, you know?
Huge.
And plus, the Sumerian words they use in those online translations,
I know.
they're often grammatically incorrect.
Really?
Yeah. And they use terms that didn't even exist back then.
Oh, come on.
I know. It's like,
So it's basically made up.
it's basically, yeah. It's like those ancient aliens theories, you know?
Uh-huh.
Fun to think about.
Fun to think about.
But not a lot of evidence
Right?
to back it up.
So are we saying the Sumerian theory is totally busted?
Well, we should always be open-minded,
In my mind, it sure.
but it's also important to be skeptical,
Right.
especially, like we said, in the age of misinformation.
Uh-huh.
We can't just
Take things at face value.
take things at face value, right? We
Right.
have to look at the evidence or the lack of evidence
Right.
before jumping to conclusions.
What about those researchers?
Oh, yeah.
Past Laszlo
Laszlo, yeah.
and Martin Veronica.
Veronica, huh?
Didn't he also try to tie the rhyme to like
This subtle-
Sumerian roots?
They did, and this shows another challenge, right?
Uh.
Even when you have, experts studying something,
Uh-huh.
they can come up with
Different interpretation.
wildly different interpretations.
Yeah.
Laszlo, he thought it was a 10,000-year-old sun prayer,
Right, right.
but Veronica's translation
Yeah.
was something else entirely.
Oh, wow. I know.
right.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
again, if it's that old and that widespread,
Right.
why are these translations all over the map?
Exactly.
So it seems like this Sumerian theory is kind of falling apart
It's falling apart.
the more we look at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if not Sumerian, then
Well, you mentioned something about a Latin connection earlier.
I did, and this is where things start to get really interesting. So the sources you sent
Yeah.
pointed out that there are versions of the rhyme in Italian,
Okay.
Croatian,
Uh-huh.
and Romanian. Now that opens up a whole new avenue to explore.
Hold on, this is getting interesting.
It is.
Because all those languages, they're clustered around Italy and the Balkans.
Exactly.
And then you add that to the Latin-sounding words in the Hungarian version.
Right.
And you gotta wonder. Could there be a common ancestor?
A common ancestor.
Somewhere back in time.
Somewhere way back.
That's the theory, right?
That's the theory.
That's what we're looking at.
And the source you sent?
Yeah.
It does some real detective work.
Oh, cool.
Starting with word origins.
Okay, like what?
So soraka sounds a bit like...
So zoreci?
Which is the Latin word for mouse.
Oh, mouse.
Mouse, yeah. And then there's tenus.
Tenus. Which could be a corruption of tempest. Means time.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Soraka as in mousetrap?
Mousetrap, yeah.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
You see it.
Okay, so tenus is time.
Mm-hmm.
Then what about Antanténusz?
Well, the source suggests it might have evolved from anti in tempus.
Okay.
Which means before time.
Before time.
Yeah. So put it all together. The first line roughly translates to before time, mousetrap time.
That still sounds a little, I don't know, out there.
It's a little out there.
But I can see how the wordplay fits, you know?
Absolutely.
The whole vibe of a kid's rhyme.
Totally.
It's playful.
It's playful.
And it's got that kind of nonsense element to it.
Exactly.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Because remember, Antanténusz shows up again.
It does.
In the second line.
Second line.
So the source dug deeper.
They did.
And found another possible Latin link.
Okay.
What if it's not about mice at all?
Oh.
But a twisted version of Thoricatus.
Thoricatus.
Which means
armored.
Armored, like wearing a breastplate?
Like wearing a breastplate, yeah.
Woo! From mice to armor.
No.
My head's spinning.
It's a lot to take in.
But I gotta admit, it makes a weird kind of sense.
It does.
Let me think about it.
It does. Think about what the rhyme is used for.
Okay.
You know, kids are picking someone for a game, and often those games have some competition.
Right.
So the idea of being armored or, ready for a challenge, it fits.
It fits.
Pretty well.
Okay.
And get this, the source even provides a full Latin translation.
Really?
For the first two lines.
No way.
Yeah.
What is it?
They suggest it could be ante in tempus thoricate nous thoris.
Okay. Which means?
Which means before time, armored with the understanding of armor.
Now that is epic.
I know, right?
Every kid's like, a little warrior.
A little warrior.
Getting psyched up.
Getting ready for battle.
Hold on. We're going to need to break this down further.
Yeah, we need a minute.
This is a lot to take in.
This is a lot to process.
Okay, so we're back, and my brain is, well...
Still buzzing.
It's still buzzing from that potential Latin translation.
That's a lot.
Before time.
Armored
with the understanding of armor.
It's powerful stuff.
I mean, come on.
I know.
Who knew a children's rhyme?
Right.
Could pack that kind of punch.
It's true. It really is amazing how much depth there might be to something we usually just dismiss as... a
simple game.
A simple game, yeah.
I have to admit, I was totally skeptical.
At first.
But the more we kind of...
Unpack this Latin connection.
The more it clicks.
Yeah.
It's like those optical illusions.
Oh, I like that.
Where you have to,
You have to shift your perspective.
To
see the hidden image. Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like.
I love that analogy.
And just like those illusions.
Yeah.
The meaning, it's not
obvious right away.
It's not obvious.
I really need to, You
got to think about it.
Think about it, yeah.
And be open to different ways.
Different ways of seeing things.
Of looking at things.
Exactly.
So to recap, we're looking at Antanténusz, Sorokatenusz, which might actually be a
garbled version.
A garbled version of this Latin phrase.
All right.
Ante in tempus thoricatenus thoras.
Which means
before time. Armored with the understanding of armor.
It's pretty incredible, and what's really striking is just how well that potential meaning fits with, what the rhyme's actually used for.
Yeah.
Kids are using this to pick someone,
To pick someone, yeah.
Often for game.
Yeah.
Competition. So, this idea of being armored.
Being ready.
With understanding.
Yeah.
Before you take on a challenge. It's pretty powerful.
It really is.
Yeah.
like each kid is, like
mentally preparing
themselves.
Yeah.
Putting on this imaginary armor.
That's a good way to put it.
To face whatever comes next.
Right, to face the challenge.
And, childhood is full of challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
And a learning experience.
It is.
So maybe the rhyme,
like
a subconscious...
Like a little pep talk.
Pep talk.
Yeah.
Reminding kids to,
to be brave.
Be brave.
And to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
I think you've hit on something really interesting.
And even if kids aren't, like consciously thinking about the meaning behind Antanténusz,
right?
Just hearing those sounds, those rhythms.
Yeah, it could still be shaping how they see the game and how they see their role in the game.
Wow, that's really deep.
It is.
Makes you wonder how many other childhood rhymes might have these hidden layers
of meaning
that we've never even considered.
I know, and it makes you appreciate the power of language.
Yeah.
Language shapes how we think. It influences how we act.
Absolutely.
It connects us to the past in ways we might not even realize.
Wow. Okay, I am convinced that there's more to this rhyme than meets the eye.
I'm glad.
But how did it end up?
That's a good question.
In so many different languages. Hungarian, Italian, Croatian.
Romanian.
It's like it really spread.
It spread, and that's...
across a whole region.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because it hints at a shared cultural background. Possibly going all the way back... To the Roman Empire.
To ancient Rome.
Yeah, when Latin was the common language.
Okay.
Used across much of Europe.
I mean, back then...
Yeah.
Latin was like...
It was what we call a lingua franca.
Lingua franca.
Yeah, meaning it was used for communication between people who spoke different native languages.
So are we saying that the rhyme started in ancient Rome?
It's a possibility.
And then spread from there?
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
The source you provided, it suggests that the Italian version might be the closest.
To the original Latin?
To the original Latin.
And then the other languages adapted it over time.
Exactly.
To fit their own,
pronunciation and ways of speaking.
Pronunciation and ways of speaking.
Oh, exactly.
That which would explain why the Hungarian version still has those Latin-sounding words.
Exactly.
Like Antanténusz and Soraka.
Yeah, it's like finding a fossil.
Like a fossil.
But instead of bones,
yeah,
it's language preserving these echoes of the past.
That is a great way to put it.
It's amazing how language can do that.
Yeah. And the fact that it's survived for so long.
Yeah.
Changing and adapting.
Across different cultures?
Across different cultures. It shows just how appealing this rhyme is.
It really does.
There's something about it.
There's something about that rhythm and the structure that people just connect with.
Right.
No matter what language they speak.
It's like a
cultural echo.
Cultural echo, yeah.
Bouncing down through the centuries.
Bouncing down through the centuries.
And even if, most people don't know the original meaning anymore.
Right.
The rhyme still has a certain power.
It does. It really does.
Absolutely. It connects us to the past. It sparks our curiosity, and it invites us to explore these hidden depths of language and culture.
Okay, this whole deep dive has really opened my eyes.
I'm glad.
To the possibilities.
That's what we're here for.
It's a good reminder that even, the simplest things can have amazing stories behind them.
It really can.
But before we get too carried away, we do have to remember that this Latin theory, while compelling,
it is compelling.
It is still just a theory.
You're right. We do need to be careful.
We always do.
About jumping to conclusions.
But even if we never find absolute proof, the process
is valuable.
Of exploring and thinking critically.
That's right.
It's valuable in itself.
It is.
It's like a good mystery novel.
I love that.
You might not.
You might not solve the case.
Solve the case, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's the journey.
Yeah, it's the journey.
Of,
it's piecing
together the clues.
Piecing together the clues.
And considering the different possibilities.
That makes it so engaging.
That's what makes it fun.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're aiming for with the deep dive.
Absolutely.
Not here to,
give all the answers.
No, we're not.
But to
spark your curiosity.
Spark your curiosity.
And to encourage you to keep digging deeper.
To keep digging
on your own.
On your own.
That's right.
Speaking of digging deeper, what about the rest of the rhyme?
We haven't even talked about that.
Sorakatikitaka, alabalabambos.
Yeah, the gibberish.
Is there a Latin connection there, too?
Maybe, maybe not.
I guess we'll have to find out.
In the final part.
In the final part of our
Antanténusz deep dive.
Antanténusz deep dive. All right, so deep divers.
Deep divers.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We've explored some pretty wild theories about this Antanténusz rhyme, haven't we?
We have.
We debunked that whole Sumerian myth.
Yeah.
And
dove headfirst.
Yeah, we dove headfirst into that possible
Latin connection.
Uncovering like
so many hidden depths.
Hidden depths we never even imagined.
Yeah. But
there's one piece of the puzzle.
One piece we haven't tackled yet.
Yeah. So we spent a lot of time. On those first two lines.
Antanthenes sorakatinus.
Antanthenes sorakatinus.
Especially with that intriguing Latin translation.
Before time?
Armored with the understanding of armor.
It's powerful.
It is,
but the rhyme doesn't end there, does it?
It keeps going.
Exactly. What about that last part?
The sorakatikitaka alabalabambos part.
Sorakatikitaka alabalabambos.
The gibberish.
That's the part that always felt like
pure gibberish.
Pure gibberish to me. So does the Latin theory?
Yeah, does it
hold up for those lines?
That's the $1 million question. Right. And to be honest, the answer is not really.
Not really?
No, the source you sent, it admits that these last lines, they're much harder to decipher.
Okay.
And they speculate that they might be later editions, maybe evolving over time as the rhyme traveled across different regions and languages.
So we're back to
playful sounds.
Playful sounds and rhythms.
Yeah, it's like those nonsensical words. They're just there.
To make it fun.
To make the rhyme more fun.
Yeah.
More memorable. Exactly. And remember how we talked about those types of rhymes being found all over the world?
Yeah.
They often have those nonsensical elements, but that doesn't mean
they're meaningless.
Right. In fact, those seemingly random sounds, they can play a big part
in how children learn language.
Exactly.
It's like when babies babble.
Oh, yeah.
Before they can actually talk.
Right.
They're playing with sounds.
They are. Intonation,
all the
building blocks of language.
Yeah.
And those silly rhymes. Yeah. They give kids a safe and fun way to keep exploring language.
Right.
They can experiment with sounds. They can copy rhythms. They can develop their language skills without the pressure of having to make perfect sense. It's all about the play.
It is.
Yeah.
What's interesting is
what's that?
Even though those last lines might not have a direct Latin translation, they still add to the overall feel.
They do.
Of the rhyme.
I think so, too.
They contribute to that.
That playful,
chant-like quality. That makes it so catchy.
Yeah, and that catchiness.
It's a big part.
It is.
Of why it survived for so long.
Think about it.
I mean, this rhyme has been passed down.
For generations.
Probably changing.
A little bit along the way.
But the fact that it's still around today...
Still here.
In multiple languages, it just shows...
It's got staying power.
That it has staying power.
Yeah, it really does.
It's like a cultural meme.
It's a cultural meme.
That keeps spreading.
I like that.
Through sound and memory.
And just like with memes, there's often an element of mystery.
Right.
We might not always know.
Where they came from.
Or what they mean.
But that doesn't make them any less impactful.
So where does that leave us?
Where?
Did we finally solve the mystery?
I don't know if we solved it.
Of what Antanténusz?
We definitely uncovered
a much deeper understanding.
Of
its possible
origins.
How it's evolved.
Yeah.
Linguistically.
How it might connect us.
And how it might connect us.
To the past.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw how something as simple as a
children's rhyme.
Can
spark these fascinating conversations.
About language.
And culture and how knowledge is passed down.
Through generations.
Through the generations, yeah.
It's a good reminder.
It is.
That even the most
familiar things can have these
hidden depths.
Unexpected connections.
Sometimes
The journey.
The journey of exploration is just as rewarding.
As finding a concrete answer.
A concrete answer.
Exactly.
It's all about the journey, right?
It really is.
So, to you listening in, we'll leave you with this thought.
Okay.
Next time you hear the Antanténusz rhyme,
really listen.
Really listen, yeah.
Do you just hear a children's game?
Oh.
Or do you hear...
Echoes of the past.
Echoes of the past.
Whispers of ancient languages.
Whispers of ancient languages.
And lost meanings.
And lost meanings. The answer's probably.
Like with most things in life.
Somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between.
And that's where the real adventure begins.
And that's where the real adventure begins. Kermie Melster's adventure begins. Follow me.